All right, let's go. Woohoo! Okay. So what happened was, all right. Hey, the weather out here has been pretty decent. We had some rain last night and the night before, but pretty cool weather. For the Game Expo, the facilities here were great. A lot of places to eat, so not very long lines. Subway seemed like every other turn there was a Subway, but they also had some traditional food here, British foods, like a pasty. So that was pretty good. Haven't had one of those in quite a few years. So yeah, if you guys come to the Game Expo, I think it's a good venue. The hotel I've stayed at, it was about 20 minutes away by Uber. You could take it was about a half hour, 20 minutes or so as well, by taking the tram and also the train. So very reasonably priced. So the security was not too bad. There were some lines, but nothing like lines at Gen Con or Celebration. So
tell me what happened on that table over there, Richard.
Which table?
The one with George and Adrian.
Oh, I don't know.
You don't know?
Yeah,
okay.
George won.
George won?
Yeah.
For real?
Yeah.
Okay.
But he did. I was overhearing him talking to fellow Brit, I guess, and saying that his opponent, he played him in Swiss. Even though he beat him in the Swiss match and obviously the top 16 match, his opponent had positive attitude, never got upset, nothing personal.
I mean,
so
George
he really enjoyed playing his match.
I don't know if you met George during the time you've been here, but George is an amazingly hospitable player.
Okay.
He's one of those guys that just ends up being friends with everyone. Let me try and do something here, studio mode, and check on the table camera, see if I can get that to work again. So anyway, as soon as I finish the technical problems I've got, I will be doing an interview with the two players. Richard, I'll take this opportunity to thank you. Okay,
yeah, hey,
it's been a pleasure to meet you. And when I saw you show up, I was like, "Wow, he's done it!"
Oh yeah, when I
obviously
say I'm going somewhere, it's
I didn't even know. I didn't even know you said you were going. And but obviously, I follow a lot of tournament results and stuff like that, and see your name showing up everywhere. So I was like,
that's right,
"Oh, but you know what the big thing is?
What's that?"
The one thing that a lot of people don't realize about you over here in Europe is that you were the gentleman who invented the Fortress in the 2014 World Championship with your X-Wings against a Phantom and, was it 3 or 4 ties?
It was 4 ties. It was Hal Runner and 3 Academies.
And you elected to just block yourself into the corner.
Yes.
Yeah. And at that time, you got a lot of stick for it.
Yeah.
And then 1 year later, my own friend, Francisco Menendez, goes to the World Championships, puts his Palpatine Lambda in the corner with with a Kano and a Vader, and castles during the whole tournament. And everyone's like, oh, it's a valid strategy,
Yeah, I think, I was playing a really good opponent, Josh McDonald. He's probably the best X-Wing player in Pensacola, Florida.
Yeah.
And being a really, really top-class player and with Whisper, and I didn't have any turrets, hence why Paul Heaver had Fat Han and
of course
3 Talas and R2-D2 and C-3PO. X-Wings, just couldn't compete. It was just like you were lucky to even get to shoot at Whisper, and then you still had Hal Runner with 3 Academies, which is pretty, that's like half a tie swarm right there as well. And so if you make one wrong choice on a turn with an X-Wing versus a Phantom, and this was before the when they say the nerf on the Phantom with the decloaking part of movement, because it used to be you decloaked at the movement phase, activation phase,
when you
which made their mobility just insanely unpredictable. And whereas opposed to now, there's a decloak phase, then movement phase starts, and that was the only way to do it, and to have a chance. And I really got incredibly lucky.
Yeah, I mean, what ended up happening is you had Biggs, Wedge,
Aaron Kraken with VI, and a rookie.
And you basically just kind of blocked them into the corner, facing each other in a way that kind of meant that like you could just do one straights and everyone would bump. And he just kind of up and down the border of the table, staying just out of range, and then towards right at the end of the match, he just made the mistake of just coming a little bit close to you, and you broke that blockade that you had. A free bank out, fired on one of the ties, and managed to pop it on the last couple of minutes of the game.
Yeah, and it's only because he blanked out on the defense, and that was it. It was just pure luck. Because Josh had the initiative, because the way it worked back then, because there were no IDs or final salvo. If you goes to time and you have initiative and the opponent has more points than you, they win.
Yeah.
And even if it's a tie 0-0 or whatever, MOV to MOV, whoever had initiative was the winner by default in an elimination match.
Yeah.
So, but I was able to play that to my advantage because he didn't have to engage me, so I got to choose when and how I could approach and start the engagement. But I had originally planned to break the formation at about the 25-30 minute mark, because my goal was to kill the 3 academies or Howl Runner and 2 academies and trade bigs.
Yeah.
Which, theoretically that was a good strategy towards, with limiting amount of time. But I wasn't sure what he was going to do, and then I talked to Josh later. I thought he was going to, after he K-turned, came back and was going to stay stressed and do a 3 bank to get closer to me, and then do a 2 straight forward and be right on top of me, and then he would just pretty much wipe out half my list. I might, Wedge might kill an academy or Howl Runner, okay, whatever. And then he could have just had Whisper on the flank where I don't even get to shoot, and there would have been too much time. So as a result, I had to wait an extra turn for him to K-turn, clear the stress, go back, so then I could break, fly through, split my guys, fly through the rocks, reconform to range 1 of bigs, and shoot at range 3 to kill 1 academy. Its time expired. So definitely not recommended. And it
was a high-risk game, and you played the best strategy you felt you had at the moment. Yeah. Obviously, a lot of people felt it was like, oh, that's not how it's supposed to be played and stuff like that. But then a year later, you kind of got vindicated in a way by the fact that it ended up being called out as being a valid strategy by Alex Davey. And then, because that's kind of that's what's interesting about it for me from the whole castling, fortressing standpoint, was you did it that year, 2014, and everyone was like, it's terrible, it's horrible, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, they poo-pooed it a lot.
And it went on for a year, and then Francisco did it throughout the whole Swiss. He did every single round, did it as long as he wanted to, and then eventually got on stream on the top 16 game, won the game. Alex Davey commenting saying, no, yes, absolutely, of course, that's the point. He doesn't want to sell his Lambda shuttle with Palpatine straight away. As soon as he starts moving, he's lost it.
Right,
so
exactly.
It was called out as being a valid strategy, and then when I came here to the Yavin Open the next year, everybody was doing it. Everybody was kind of like blocked into a corner, put the 2 large ships next to each other, doing one turns, without even having to touch the dial. My opinion of it is, yes, it's a valid strategy. It's kind of like exploiting a loophole. The ships have a maneuver dial for a reason. Not all ships have a 0 maneuver for a reason. If ships were supposed to stand still, they'd stand still and have a 0 maneuver, but they don't. What is more of a question, I don't have a problem with people, for example, in Francisco's case, he would move his Carnor across at 1 turn, barrel roll back to block the shuttle, and the shuttle would move like 2 millimeters at a time.
Real minimal movement,
Whereas the option where they just put the 2 ships touching each other and they don't even have to touch the ships, I find that to be a bit more exploitative. And being a person that has to play against it, just watching Guy go, those are maneuvers, I'm not going to touch anything, let's go to the next phase. That's true. A bit irritating.
That's true. But I want to bring up my regional I had at Covenant at a regional a couple years ago. I was playing dual IGs, and I was the 8th seed. I barely got in by 9 MOV. It was like just a miracle. And I was playing against the undefeated guy in Swiss. He had Whisper, Sunterfell, and the Vader Doom Shuttle. And I asked the guys, a lot of the KC guys that lost to him in Swiss, and I'm like, hey, how did you lose to him? Because, you guys are good players. Like, what happened? What's he doing? What's the strategy? And he's like, oh, he just fortresses in the corner. Yeah. And I'm like, really? For like half the game? Like, yeah. And they had like either a Decimator or something. And so they played his game instead of their game. And what I mean by that is they approached him while he was in the corner, and it kind of limited the Decimator's movement and stuff because of the rocks and whatnot. And I'm like, okay, well, that's good to know. That intel I know. And this guy's never played me. I never played him. And I have to give the Covenant guys some little jab here. When you watch that video, they gave me only a 5% chance to win.
That's what you're talking about.
I'm like 5%. I'm like, come on, I can at least get 15, 20. I'm in the 8th seed. I got to be. It's like getting a bronze medal. That's pretty good. I got in. But by knowing he was going to castle, I was able to plan my approach with my IGs, B and C, 2 different angles, and I had time. Yeah. Because he thought he was going to play his game, where no. I came up with a fortress. I know how to approach that, at least come up with a plan, and that's what I was able to do. But he did make one mental mistake, when it's like close to midnight or whatever, it gets pretty late, and what I did was I went after Whisper first. I had one of the IGs I actually target locked as my action, and the other one just did I think I did a boost, so then I got a free dodge on both or whatever. And I got 2 hits. He spent the focus to evade. He didn't realize, I had the IG ability, and then the heavy laser cannon could shoot again, but this time I got a target lock. So I got 4 hits. I was just rolling hot, and he lost his 2 shields, so then the next IG shoots, I kill Whisper on that first round of combat. Yeah. So now it's just the Doom Shuttle and Sunter fell. But I think I lost a couple shields on one of the IGs. So I'm like, okay, whatever. I think it was C, which is fine because B I want to keep alive. But knowing where his shuttle was, he was really limited. He wanted to try to have shots, and there was nowhere he could go. But I was able to plan. My goal was, and it worked out, I had C, K-turn behind the shuttle, almost to the going off the board. So what's not seen in the video, because they edited it out, was you probably would have just seen my head. I'm looking at the space and trying to visually picture, can I K-turn and not get blocked by the shuttle and not go off the board? Yeah. But I was able to do it, and was pretty fortunate, and I did. So I got IGC behind the shuttle, and it was over. But he did. Oh, and one of the things I had was a lot of folks were putting push the limit or VI for their EPT. I went with determination, just for that occasional, hey, you get that pilot crit and boom, that damage just gets discarded. So, and that really helped me out throughout the tournament, reducing damage, mitigation. And he had Vader on the shuttle, so he took 2 damage. And guess what I draw? A pilot crit. Oh, that goes away. So he takes 2 damage on the shuttle, and I get none. Perfect. Excellent. And the way I ended that game was it was just the best. I had a seismic charge. Cool. I'm like, I dropped that and blew up Finn. Yeah, I blew up C, but that's okay. We won the match. But knowing that if the person has the tendency or their game plan is the fortress, you can plan for that. You can exploit that. Yeah, you have time. There's no rush because he ain't going anywhere. He has his dials down, and he can't say you're slow playing. It's like, well, you're not even moving. So I can take all the time I want to look at and study the map, figure out my approaches, calculate my moves in advance, like 3 or 4 moves, and predict where he's going to be. And obviously, if he breaks the castle, that's fine too, because I'll account for that. I can account for that.
That's cool. Have you seen the new fortress, the Uber fortress?
The Uber fortress.
Yeah, no, when you get like the 2 Upsilons, you get Stridon and Dormitz, and you get Captain Yor and the Lambda, and you put the Captain Yor in the corner. You put Stridon like diagonally. You put, was it Stridon or Dormitz? Which is the one that lets them deploy at range 2?
I have no idea.
Anyway, the one that lets them deploy at range 2, you put it next to Yor, so he's blocking him. Right. And then because you've got the ability to deploy up to range 2, you put the other Upsilon on the other side of the corner.
Okay.
Right? So then these 2 Upsilons, with their 4 dice arcs, do 0 turns every single turn, do 0 maneuvers every single turn, get 1 stress, and then Yor, who's a higher pilot skill than the 2 of them, does a 1 straight, green, bumps into the back of them, uses Inspiring Recruit to suck up both their stress and remove it. So, I mean, they don't have to move at any point. They've got like 3 arcs, 4 dice, 4 dice, 3 dice, and they can just sit there all game in the corner. So it's an interesting it's an interesting future. We've got to see whether or not it gets to a point where they feel it's being too unfairly exploited.
Yeah, I guess if you see a lot of them making the top cuts and they win, then FFG will probably have an issue.
Up until then, there's not much else we need to do.
Yeah, it's just going to be situational, but be prepared to encounter something like that and have a game plan.
Excellent.
So,
well, listen, Richard, like I say, it's been a pleasure getting to know you. Right?
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Yep.
I know you're keen to do every single round, but I like to get other people that are here representing other communities.
Definitely.
If need be, you're still around for the final, so I know I've got you there. For
Oh,
a
yeah,
backup.
exactly. I'll be here all day.
Thank you very much.
Okay.